Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Backcast, the podcast component of the Backlog, where we are talking about playing through everything ever. Though we're a little bit more narrow in our focus this week. I'm Dan, as always, joined by Joe.
I'm here.
We are here, and we're playing Monster Hunter.
I mean, if you were tired of Monster Hunter,
We're not.
we're not.
Not at
And
all.
you really shouldn't be tired of Monster Hunter because you should check this game out. It's insane.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Of course, because we would just spend the next 12 hours talking about Monster Hunter.
Well,
if we
playing.
didn't,
We would be playing.
playing and talking about it.
But before we get to that, let's just
Some other tidbits,
some other things
of
that we
things that have been outside of Monster Hunter.
when we poke our head up for air, we go, "Oh,
Yeah.
what's going on? Oh, this is a thing."
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm still playing WoW, and there's recently been a little bit of news in that.
Ooh, do
world.
tell.
Yeah, I mean, nothing terribly exciting, but the new expansion went up for pre-purchase and has finally a release date, which is in October, late October probably.
Okay.
I think from what I didn't actually look at the date. I'm terrible, but you can pre-order, and with that pre-order comes along with the new expansion, the allied races. So you can now level up void elves. I think all of them are unlocked. I don't know, maybe not all of them.
So
but
that it's a basically a sub race that you didn't
sub
have
races.
that have been in the game but have never been player characters before.
Kind of, because they have void elves as well. Void elves, I don't think have been in the game as a race anyway. You've seen elements of them.
In the end of this last expansion, you get that. Yes.
I don't know. I mean, there is a void kind of storyline with Illyria Windrunner, which is really cool, and it kind of sets up the void elves. And I think the void elves are going to be a bigger deal in the next expansion. I don't know a ton about it. As far as the lore goes, I'm not a big lore guy.
Gotcha.
But we got void elves, dark iron dwarves, light forged Draenei, and there's another one that I'm forgetting. What is it?
Nightborn?
That's a Horde one. The Nightborn are Horde. Horde get High Mountain Tauren, so you can get a big
Moose Tauren.
a big Moose Tauren, which is rad.
Yep.
And Zandalar Trolls, as well as Draenor Orcs for the Horde.
Ooh,
So they'll be brown and upright instead of hunched over and bright green.
Okay.
So, I mean, we got some interesting stuff coming. That also came along with 4 new character slots. So for those altaholics like myself, we can build more.
The sub races and alt slots unlocked immediately.
Yes. So if you pre-purchase, you get the new character slots. You get the allied races as well.
Okay.
And we're starting to hear more and more about potential class changes and PTR stuff.
Gotcha. Well, what did that announcement do to the servers, Joe?
It destroyed everything. It just went up in flames, every bit of it. People couldn't log in for a long time, and it took a while for those extra character slots to unlock. If you pre-ordered, there was actually a gigantic queue to even pre-purchase.
Wow,
in the thousands. Like, we had some people saying that like they were like 980 something in line to pre-order. So apparently people are stoked. People love WoW, and it's kind of exciting. It's exciting to actually have some news finally about a new expansion finally coming out. And also a little disheartening in that we're only going to have this current raid that we're in, Antorus, the Burning Throne, for another 6-something months, whatever.
Easily 6 months.
Many months to go still.
Well, we're in 2. It comes out in 10.
I don't want to think about it. 8 months. 8 months more of this raid. I mean, we're probably not going to be raiding it that long. I mean, we're on the last boss with my weekday team, and we're real close. We had a 1% wipe. You mentioned that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate, and we'll get it done. We're just so close, and it's gonna happen. We'll probably get it on Tuesday, and
that's where you get the fire that makes you like, we gotta do this.
Oh man. But the thing is, it's been so fast. We struggled on the third to last boss quite a bit. We spent a few weeks there trying to get it down. Yeah. And then when we got to the second to last boss, we 3-shot it.
Ooh, it felt you don't want it that quick.
It was so fast, and that was supposed to be one of the more difficult bosses. Granted, I mean, we have some really good, pretty dedicated players on the team.
Was it a comp thing? Like, you guys are just like everything lined up for you guys?
I mean, no. It just took us learning what we actually needed to do to execute a strat. So it took a few pulls just to be like, oh, okay, we need to do it. It's a very fast fight. It's very just nonstop.
Oh, those were my favorite ones.
It's real good. It's actually a really good fight where you have a big dude kind of in the middle who has multiple phases, summons a bunch of ads, and then these like 10 ads that are around the room are slowly traveling towards him.
They can't get there.
If they get to him, they buff him, and that's bad. But I mean, he needs one of the buffs, I think, to maintain a damage on himself.
Okay.
So the idea is you just slow them down. If you kill them, they drop in a little pool, and then 18 seconds later they respawn and keep moving towards the boss.
Okay.
So the idea is to stagger them reaching the boss, and it took us just a little while to figure out how we would how to stagger that slowness and CC things appropriately, and when to do that. And then as soon as it kind of just clicked, we're like, oh, cool, bam, done. And then we've actually only had one full night working on the last boss, and we're already hitting 1% wipes on heroic, and it's a little, I don't know, disappointing that it's not harder.
I mean, I remember when
it's not easy by any means. Like, these are definitely difficult fights.
Right.
I think we just have a really solid core.
Yeah,
and we're just getting through it. Which is it's been a lot of fun.
That's one of the great things. But I remember when we were raiding, we had a pretty decent team there as well, and we had a good group of dedicated guys who knew how to kind of focus up and figure mechanics out. And unless we had some kind of outside issue, we always seemed to get bosses down in above average time.
Yeah. I mean, we were like, the amount of time that we raided, we're not like cutting edge by any means.
No,
but we did get things down in
it was
fewer pulls than
yeah, we were still usually racing for our cutting edges and things like that. So
we were pretty solid, and I'm looking forward to more of that. With the weekend team, it's been a little bit slower. We're finally on that third to last boss, which is kind of the stumbling block for a lot of groups.
Right, and you're seeing it there. You're understanding
a little bit more. It's really interesting. The compositions of each team are very different. So some bosses have been just ridiculously easy. Others have been huge stumbling blocks. And it's interesting to see how two different teams kind of react to different fights and the slightly different sizes because the weekend team's a little chaotic on the group size. Like, sometimes we'll have 12 people, sometimes we'll have 20 people.
Oh, yeah, okay, that'll do it, yeah.
And the scaling gets all wonky, and breakpoints are strange. So certain things become easier, certain things become harder. And
you have that moment where guys like, I can handle this ad on my own, and there's 20 people, and he goes, I can't handle this,
Things scale weird, but it's been good. It's actually been a lot of fun. I haven't had this much fun raiding in a long time. Hence, I'm raiding on two separate teams.
Right. You have gotten the bug bad.
And it's been fun to actually be able to play like my two main classes and have them both raid ready. I think my druid's actually higher than my priest now in gear, which is real strange because I've been raiding on the priest a lot longer.
Gotcha.
But
it's
WoW's still good, man. WoW's still really good.
Well, it takes a certain kind of attitude, but you're definitely looking. It seems like it's for people who want to not worry about what they're going to play, but they always want to have something to do. And WoW is fantastic at going, hey, this is what I'd like to do today. There's always something there for you.
Very much so. It is very much that. Just like,
it's how engaged you are by it.
I'm super familiar with this. Is like a nice warm blanket I can always go back to.
Right. Yeah,
it's a very, like, I don't know, it's a very cozy gaming experience. Just to be like, I know what this game is. I know it's always going to kind of offer the same thing and be very consistent and kind of have that same loop, reward loop that I've always known and loved.
No matter what they do to it, it's always end up being the same.
It always is. There's always a very like sameness to it, which is great. They paint new stuff on it. They get new shiny paint jobs with artifact system, and they find ways to keep it interesting, and the progression I think like pretty consistent.
Yeah, I think in light of a number of things, I just get this feeling. I can't say it's going to be what it happens, but I want to believe it's true that when they with the WoW vanilla servers that they've announced, I still believe. And I may have mentioned on this podcast before that it's going to be they're just going to relaunch WoW. It's going to be an updated experience. It's not going to be it's vanilla WoW. It's just like you remember it. It's like, no, this is what if we made WoW knowing what we know today, this is what it would be, and they just relaunch it as.
And that would be genius. Honestly, it would be a genius thing for them to do.
Right?
I don't know. We know absolutely nothing about it other than the fact that they have said the term classic and server in the same sentence at
Right.
BlizzCon. We know nothing about these classic these vanilla servers coming back.
I don't. Do they say classic? Because everybody says vanilla.
Everyone says vanilla, and I think they just made a joke, something about vanilla ice cream or something at BlizzCon. I don't know. It was really dumb, but I think they're not going to call it vanilla. I think it'll be classic, probably for branding purposes.
Yeah.
And vanilla is a little too vanilla of a term,
Right.
So we don't know, and I would be amazed if they did that, and I would be so stoked if that's what it ended up being. But then, what would you do with current WoW? Like, there's some aspects of it that just don't make a lot of sense.
If this expansion,
if it was
puts a bow on it, like you can keep playing, it's still here.
We'll see. We just know so little. It's fun to speculate a little bit. It would be an interesting thing,
right?
If they did kind of do some weird ninja re-release of that world and kind of go from a more modern architecture and
build it from the ground up,
kind of a ground up, but from a more modern ground up.
This time there will never be flying.
Oh man, I don't know if that would ever fly, but yeah. Exciting news. Like, we're starting to see class stuff for the new expansion as well, like things that they're baking in to from the artifacts, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I am actually very interested. I don't know that I have an interest in jumping back in and playing anymore, but yes, I'm interested in seeing it. I'm sure it'll be one of those things every year, couple
check
years.
in with it every so often.
Say like, okay, here's $15. Let me see where it's at. Okay.
Cool, it's still WoW.
It's
that's
still
the thing.
WoW.
That's what it's always going to be. It's going to be, oh, cool, it's still WoW.
Well,
like,
and
it's never going to be like a revolutionary change.
Nor would I want it to be.
Yeah, I mean, and hey, if they pull it off, that'd be actually rad. You know? Do something really crazy with it. It'd be interesting to see if they could pull it off.
I would tease our old curmudgeon raid lead that just you wait, WoW's just going to be Diablo at some point. And I don't actually want that to happen, but
WoW is Diablo at this point. Now that we have Mythic Plus dungeons, and it's like, you can just like turn up the torment level.
When it becomes soloable, then it's Diablo.
Ooh, yeah, that is a sticky.
Yeah. Exactly.
That would be a radical change in WoW.
Right.
Making anything actually soloable would be a pretty radical and kind of a death knell, in my opinion. I think they and they're kind of the only ones left that have been able to hold on to that holy trinity of the tank, healer, DPS.
Right.
Kind of split, and everyone else has tried to do it, has not done it very successfully.
Yeah.
I remember like Star Wars: The Old Republic was they had tanks, they had healers, but it was never. They didn't allow enough support to make it successful. Well,
also the problem is when they went free to play, they kind of screwed their tanks in that they was way too active of a process. Like the cooldowns on your interrupt were too long, so you had to have multiple interrupts. So when they went free to play, they were only going to give you one bar that you could put abilities on.
Interesting.
And for you to actually do your rotation and actually have all your interrupts, you had to have about 3 bars.
Wow. I'm glad I didn't get that. I'm glad I didn't get too deep into it. I still itch to go back and play the Old Republic.
Right.
And I might just to see where it is now. I never did finish the storylines. There were a lot of really cool ones. I had a bunch of characters that I was having fun just kind of digging through. And man, itching for more Star Wars after Last Jedi. I'm just like, man, give me something.
Right. I think you're going to be disappointed. I think especially.
I don't think I could be. I know.
Time has moved on. Though.
I have played enough of that game to know what its shortcomings are.
Right.
And jumping back into it at this point, I think I could have a bit more like actualized view on it.
But I mean, well, it'd be interesting because you don't. It's been a few years.
It would be more of a narrative journey than I'm doing this for a gameplay experience,
right? But
because I know it's not great as an MMO.
It isn't,
and that the rotations were clunky. They didn't feel like they flowed very well.
The
animation stuff was really weird.
They intentionally cut down on feedback because they didn't want anybody to feel. They didn't like the idea of damage meters. Which at the time I understood, but now
I think it's a fatal flaw in an MMO.
Have to have
you
those.
Have to have it, because if you can't see your progression, if you can't see that you're getting better at a thing,
right?
What's the point?
Right. If you don't, also if you have 2 guys running the same class, one guy says I can do 5K, and this other guy's I'm only doing 2.
What do I do better? Yeah.
What am I doing wrong?
What do I need to change? Right.
Right. It for people who want it, I understand people being like, well, it's used for this tool of elitism. Hey, guess what? People are going to do elitist things, but
you can't get away from that.
You can't get away from that. So you find a group of people who aren't elitist, but are still wanting. But I mean, if you want to be good at the game, this is how you get good at the game. Otherwise, you might as well just have the small world of MMOs where you just sit in your seat and the story passes you by, and it doesn't matter if you click or not. It's just, I mean, watch a movie. Watch a movie.
There you go. Watch a movie.
That's harsher than I intended it to be. But at a point, it's, why aren't you just watching movies?
Yeah. And I mean, that's why we have things like Everybody's Gone to the Rapture and walking simulators.
Walking simulators, yeah.
And
there's a place for those.
That exists.
And there's a place for those. I want to sit and be immersed in a world, and that's cool, I guess. But I don't know. Especially having spent some time with games that challenge you, like Monster Hunter, where they're like, no, this thing's going to hit you and it will kill you. Get better.
Yeah, get good, scrub.
Yeah.
We're going to get into that.
But yeah, we're going to get into that.
We'll get into that. But yeah, maybe I'll have to check in on that. Maybe we'll do a little retrospective on SWTOR.
That would be interesting.
Just to see, because I mean,
I think it's 2 phones ago that I had my authenticator.
Your authenticator, and trying to get your authenticator back from SWTOR is rough. Well, having done it once before, they won't let you do it. If you have to have your recovery code and stuff. It's like it may be better now. I don't know, but back then, it was maybe I don't know. I played close to launch and then took a few months break.
Was it free to play when you jumped in?
No. I paid to start.
It's an absolutely different game.
Yeah.
I checked back in.
Well, I checked back in right after it went free to play just to see kind of what it was like, and it was pretty unapproachable. But I do still have a game time card.
Interesting.
That I got right when I purchased the game. I got a couple game cards with it, and I never redeemed the second one.
I don't know if that means anything anymore.
No, I think I can still redeem it for cartel coins. So I can still get the premium currency off of it as if I were paying for the game.
Interesting.
So I can redeem that for premium currency and play it as if I were paying for it, at least for a month. And then, that might get me through the storyline. A storyline that I'm interested in messing with,
right?
And that'll give me enough, I think, of what that game has to offer.
Well, I mean, I guess I remember hearing stuff and seeing stuff in various stories that were kind of undermining everybody else's story. It's like, oh, you did this; it's very heroic in this storyline, and then in the other storyline, the throwaway line, it's just like, no, it actually was. It was this whole ruse.
Well, I mean, they do that in WoW.
Right.
A Horde storyline versus Alliance storyline.
But no, I'm saying...
It's it looks like they did something terrible, but no, it was actually really like this.
No, it's just this was really significant.
And vice versa.
But it was actually, no, it was...
vice versa. It was just
all
everybody's misunderstood and everyone's really on the same side. It's pretty one-dimensional.
Yeah.
But...
also, I mean, I just thinking about it now, the emo eyeliner that all the female characters have in that game.
It's SWTOR?
It's SWTOR.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember because I was I loved my big chunky fat Jedi console.
Yeah. Your fat
awesome.
Carl of a
yep. Good times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, still speaking of Blizzard stuff, I'm still kind of processing how I feel on this one. But Blizzard, and specifically the Overwatch team, which they made an announcement that a lot of people reacted with, "Wow, I didn't take the name as literal."
Okay, and I actually hadn't heard about this. Until you mentioned it earlier, and I was like, "Oh, we can talk about that."
Yeah, it's they have announced that in order to cut down on toxicity, they've basically got, I guess, teams of people. So they're paying people to scour social media, YouTube, all sorts of things to basically enforce the way they think you should play and act in Overwatch outside of Overwatch. So if they see any untoward behavior, they will just straight ban you from this game that you bought.
This seems so insane.
If they don't like what you said on Twitter.
When is this brand new? Did this just happen
last week or so? Within last week. It's tough to say. With basically, and the comment they came out with is, we're not looking at also basically making a better player environment in our game, but in all games. So basically, if you indulge in wrongthink, we will ban you from our game from it. And I don't see how this does anything but hurt Blizzard.
It's a weird. I mean, granted, they are doing some new stuff with Overwatch League, and there's a lot of
they're banning
money.
guys for flipping the bird at cameras, and
there's a lot of money being thrown at this. Like, it's not surprising that they're having to police it more than other things.
Do you think their sponsors saying you guys have to be respectable, and they're overreacting?
There's got to be something, like
follow the money.
The Activision overlords are like, hey, you guys got to like clamp down on this, or we're gonna lose some sponsorship or something. I don't know. It's a weird thing,
right?
Like, to try and police the internet, especially this day. Like,
it's too late.
It's too lawless already at this point.
Well, I would say this: did they learn nothing from the whole Overwatch pornography thing?
I don't know. I mean, there's nothing they can do about that at this point.
Yes, and they should know that. It's the same problem again, because for those of you who don't know, a lot of people actually, apparently it was adult streaming services were saying, hey, Overwatch pornography is huge. Like, people are searching for it, people are creating it, it's this whole thing. Blizzard had a huge meltdown, tries to crack down on it to an extreme degree, gets nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, once it's on the internet, like, how do you crack down on that?
Here's the thing:
ridiculous.
They actually made it more popular by acknowledging it existed, and people were like, "That's a thing." Oh, sure, I'll check it out.
Right.
In fact, we had our group chat. We had someone who threatened if people didn't jump on to help him through a certain quest or something, he's going to start spamming Overwatch porn. And he had a teaser image that wasn't quite, but was enough that you're like, oh, he's going to do this.
Oh yeah, the memes. The memes are terrible.
Anyway. So I think this is that again. They're saying, if you don't behave, we're going to ban you from our game.
You're going to get spanked.
And people are going to be like, well, I have sock accounts. And also, let's find out where that line is, and then we can actually throw that back at them.
Right.
Like if I say spaghetti, at what point does spaghetti become...
You don't throw down the gauntlet against the internet this day and age.
Shia LaBeouf learned this.
Well, Shia LaBeouf should have learned this many times.
Yeah, this is a good point. He had his opportunities to learn that.
I mean... Normal Tuesday night for Shia LaBeouf. So
going deep. I like that one. Keep going.
Dying. But yeah. I don't know. I don't follow Overwatch a lot, so I have not heard anything about this or looked into it myself at all, just to see the extent to which this is
right. So this is raw reaction.
Yeah, this is pretty raw. That's crazy. Yeah. It is very Orwellian. I mean, that was a very apt reference,
Yeah.
But that's the internet. Like, that's kind of happening, like, with most social commentary these days. It is very...
right, you have private companies who have ideologies.
Exactly. And nobody is free from this. Everybody has their agenda. Everybody has their whatever. And it's irritating.
Which, if you want to,
really irritating.
You want to see how deep the rabbit hole goes. Look at the recent James Damore filing suing Google.
For what?
For being fired for wrongthink.
Oh, was it the memo guy?
The memo guy.
Oh, got it.
Well, he has actually provided like 130 pages of evidence that you're within 2 pages. You're like going, no, that's. No,
I mean,
really?
Again, private corporations, what are you going to do?
Right, but here's the thing: there are in California, especially, they're breaking laws on discrimination.
Oh, interesting.
Saying basically, there is a culture against white men in that company.
Well,
but
that's very popular nowadays,
right? But that's still illegal.
Sure.
And so, but it's very Google is very ideological at the moment.
Yeah.
And so they're running afoul of that while also deciding that if you try to Google search in 2016 about what Hillary Clinton's up to, we're going to modify your results so you don't get the actual answer you're looking for.
We're getting too political.
Anyway, but no, these are objective things that happen.
I know they are. They definitely are, and it's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate.
It's not where we want to be. In my opinion,
I agree.
Yeah, we as a society definitely should
clear
steer clear.
This is a video game podcast. I'm just let's say like those are things that are happening out there, and this is just.
But I mean, this is directly affecting our video games, and especially it's something very popular right now with Overwatch, and it becoming now this giant of an esports.
And that's been successful
thing.
Then.
Yeah, I mean, so far it's brand new. It'll be like time will tell.
Yeah, when the XFL comes back, we'll see how that goes.
Once we see how the XFL does, then we can really.
And then we'll really know.
We'll pass judgment on Overwatch League and see how that goes.
It's a good plan.
I mean, that's what we've been waiting for is the XFL. I mean, if it's something we missed from the 90s, it's definitely XFL.
Kind of.
I mean, honestly, if they do a WWF thing with it and make it a nice drama show and create characters,
they're not athletes, they're superstars.
Yes.
Oh
man,
it's 5-on-5.
I just want it to be a weird football-ish reality show.
That's what I'm saying, like arena football, but like 5-on-5, so you can have like drama and dude's ex-wife is out there shouting at him and just kind of really go for it.
I think they should. They really should. They should just like tap into that wrestling audience that is way into the
show,
the dude soap opera that exists there, and man, just amp it up.
Yeah,
make it like keep it athletic, to an extent, but create some personalities. Like we live in the era of the cult of personality.
Yeah,
it would make it far more successful, I think, than trying to be like, oh, this is a legitimate athletic endeavor.
Right.
And we're gonna try and revolutionize football.
You're gonna have somebody like basically knocks a ref out, and like all this cheating is happening on the field, and it's just pandemonium for 10 minutes.
And honestly, that's kind of what I want to see out of more of like Overwatch League and the esports side.
Bigger people,
just getting to know the people. Maybe.
So
I don't know that that's the best idea because they're a bunch of awkward nerds and they play video games professionally.
Well, let me give you the counterpoint that I've seen people talking about. I mean, this is going off other opinions of people I follow and listen to, but don't really necessarily have the same background to vet it. But the speedrunners, games done quick.
Okay, yeah.
Well, since they've become bigger and bigger and they've partnered with kind of more reputable organizations, Doctors Without Borders, and there's a cancer research one that they do 2 a year, they've become incredibly stringent on what people can and can't do. And that they've been,
as far as
cracking down on personality.
Interesting.
Because if it's anything that could paint anything in a bad light, they're basically trying to be like YouTube's
the whole
ad
money.
safe.
It's the whole money thing. We want to keep these sponsors, we got to like.
Well, they're not sponsors.
Toe the line.
It's a charity donating to these charities, but they want to be friendly, advertiser friendly, essentially.
Yeah, because there's money there,
and there's some that's legit.
There's money being held over.
There's some that's legit, but there was a guy who, and he was towing the line to see what he could do. Okay. But he got banned for the next like couple of years for wearing a red hat.
Oh no. Gosh.
So and then
people like to try and make their statements.
Also, Notch, the guy who created Minecraft, he has opinions that are very, very much his opinions. And he would donate, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You're like $10K to pop during these things. And they all but booed him at this two ago when he donated, because we're getting into the wrong thing, political stuff.
Yeah.
And I guess this last one, they noticed that they were basically reusing donation segments from other times, and it's
weird. Okay.
So because what they've done is they've homogenized it to the point that all the people who are entertaining aren't allowed to be there. The people who get the crowd really riled up because they're taking risks and they're on the edge of what is socially normal and socially acceptable. And you have people who step afoul of that, okay, this is not normal, but it's also not acceptable. There's people like, oh, this is acceptable, but it's not normal, so it's funny. It's what comedy does, right? Comedy pushes boundaries.
Sure.
I don't want to get into that. But
we're already getting a little in the weeds.
We are getting a little in the weeds. We weren't planning on going
here. Yeah.
But anyway, so
it's not bad. It's not bad. It's definitely.
But they're having the other problem is that they are now finding themselves less popular because they're not entertaining. And when you do twice a year, when you have a full 24 hours a day week of these are people playing video games for you, speedrunning them, and nobody wants to tune in.
Yeah,
that's
rough. That is really rough.
Yeah.
That's it's too bad,
right?
Because Awesome Games Done Quick is fun to see,
and it's a neat. It was fun to see.
It was fun to watch. Yeah. Seeing some of the ones that I have is pretty impressive. Right. Just how these guys are able to
break things,
dissect these games, and break them to a point that you can complete Link to the Past in a matter of minutes.
Right. Like, we can cut 10 hours out of Legend of Zelda. Ocarina of Time.
Sure.
And it's a glitch, and so it thinks you have the Master Sword, but you haven't even seen the Master Sword.
And these ideas of just like them breaking it based on just weird cracks they discover in the game itself,
right,
or tool-assisted gameplay,
or it's faster if you hop backwards as opposed to run forwards.
Yes.
And so you see these people just hopping for 3 hours straight. You're like, okay, at a point, I just want to see I want to see if he could do this for 3 hours.
like 1.5A presses and all of the weirdness that goes along.
Yeah,
with
the
this
taskbot.
stuff. Yes.
Like, oh, look, you're just using nothing but the inputs on a Super Nintendo controller. I convinced the Super Nintendo that it actually is Pokemon Red.
It's so crazy.
You're like, wait, what?
It's really cool to see a lot of that stuff. But I mean, I don't know how you.
But it's got to be interesting.
It does. You need the personality behind it.
The raw science only takes you so far.
To try and cut that out just because somebody might get offended. I don't know. It goes against what I believe in, at least as far as like free speech and things.
Right.
So,
but anyway, so the problem is them introducing this into video games is that we now have to get vaguely political.
And it's true, and it makes me sad because it is Blizzard. I know their overloads are Activision now, and they have some say on some level there. It's disappointing. It's disappointing that they feel they need to police, and that may be not necessarily their own goal necessarily,
but they are also based in California,
and they have been doing this kind of thing for a long time, though.
Yeah.
I mean, even in WoW, you have GMs that people are complaining to, and people getting reported for racist speech and things like that.
Right.
So it's not that unheard of. People getting banned for periods of time for this, like for quote unquote toxic and bad behavior.
And here's the thing: is my issue, what it comes down to, is that there is actually absolutely it's not like all behavior should be tolerated. There is unacceptable behavior going on, but I think that there's always people who are too overzealous.
Well, the fact that they're going outside of the game itself is. It's too much.
Right. So if
too much. If people are getting banned because they said something on Twitter that goes against this task force, that
it's like, okay,
and they get banned because they posted some dumb thing on Twitter.
That's
ridiculous.
You posted Ugandan knuckles without understanding that some people think it's racist.
There you go.
And now, nope, you're
sorry, that doesn't fit our Overwatch code of conduct.
Your Blizzard account is now locked because you posted a cartoon
in a different forum that we don't own.
Yeah.
That's really sketchy. If that is how it
especially
works.
if you're
sorry if we're way off here on our details. I have not had time to really look at this myself either. But from the sounds of what you're telling me, that's pretty insane. It is very Orwellian.
It is
in its intent.
And here's the other part that makes it just before we'll get off this. The other problem is, what if you had just dropped $50 on loot boxes in Overwatch?
Seriously.
And they're like, "Oh, you're banned." Like, well, okay, I get my $50 back, right? No,
we're going to keep that.
No, we're actually going to keep
consider
that.
it your punishment.
Right? It's like, no, I gave you money, and this is not a part of your terms of service that I can't be a jerk with my friends on the internet.
On 4chan.
Right. Which, I mean, you can't be anonymous at 4chan, but
course,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you've mentioned that you've been on 4chan before, so we're just going to ban you.
We're just going to ban you outright.
Because we know what you kind of shenanigans.
Based on principle.
Right.
4chan exists.
Because 4chan. That said,
that's just part of the terms of service.
Right.
You can't be on 4chan, DeviantArt, Tumblr.
No.
They just have a list of things that just auto-ban.
No, Tumblr is ideologically sound.
Oh, of course. It's the in crew
from the censorship perspective. Anyway,
TumbleSec.
Actually, I don't want to get into this. I'm going to
start making.
I'm going to say stuff that
homages to.
I'm not going to regret
1984.
it. Other people are going to regret it.
Other people are just going to tune out. This is stupid.
Yeah. Now let me tell you about the ANCAPs.
All right, you know what? Let's just move along.
Yes.
And let's get to the real meat of this. This is your Monster Hunter warning, folks.
Right. Oh, yeah.
If you're tired of hearing about Monster Hunter, I'm sorry.
I'm going to challenge you. If you could edit in Anjanath screaming as when it says spoiler of Monster Hunter warning.
Monster Hunter
warning or something.
We're going to talk about some Monster Hunter. Because
I believe
this game is insane. I know we spent our entire last Backcast on it, but now that we're I don't know, marginally farther into it.
Well, let's say I'm over 70 hours in, Joe.
I'm not going to talk about my game played.
But it's more than that.
Less than 100. It is less than 100 hours.
Yes.
But we have put some serious time into this game.
I do so we have some loose notes that we have. Ironically, that last conversation was not totally on the notes. But Joe, for the section when we started Monster Hunter, put Monster Hunter Life with a Y.
With a Y.
But just so you know kind of how this conversation's going to go.
Don't judge me.
Okay, go take it from there, Joe.
Don't judge me. So this game has been shocking. I know we played the beta and we talked a lot about it last time, but it was like very shortly after release.
The gameplay loop was very good.
It was very tight, especially like early game. You're getting in. The monster kills were easy. In retrospect,
kind of like very telegraphed. But if you got hit by them, they were still okay,
still survivable. Yeah. And it has very quickly become something else entirely. The progression and everything has slowed down kind of remarkably.
But changed as well.
And changed as well. Like we were, you're farming these monsters, you're carving them up, you're making gear to get better, you're collecting different things in the game to just get better and more effective and more specialized.
Or building entirely different weapons that have different skill sets.
That's kind of what I mean with the specialization.
Fair enough, yeah.
Because each monster has its own set of skills, its own kind of elements that it deals with, status effects, poison, paralysis. Yeah.
Elemental weaknesses.
Elemental weaknesses as well. And you're discovering these as you're researching, as you're killing and tracking them down in the environments. And it has just become, it's kind of just like, as the loop has gotten a little slower and you're farming a little bit more, the depth of gameplay has just kind of exponentially increased in its like demand on you to prepare for these fights, and it's become like way more Dark Souls in my opinion. In the combat is far more punishing.
You get hit and you're like, I don't know why that looks like it shouldn't hit me. Okay, I guess this hitbox is a little bit wider. I need to know that you need to learn these monsters.
You need to learn the
individually,
animations, and it's impressive. And there's not a small number of monsters. What is it, 40 something?
I think by the end,
or it will be 40 something.
I mean, well, if you want to talk about subspecies,
yeah, geez. But as it just like and like I said, like we're kind of marginally farther in that early on. You're getting these hunter rank. Like the idea is like your progression is you're ranking up as a hunter, and I think I'm at hunter rank 13 right now.
We're both on at rank 13 because right now hunter rank is tied to the story.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then at a point it unlocks, it becomes just an XP system.
Right.
From what I've read, I have no idea.
And I mean, I still feel like we're kind of early game at this point.
I think we're about mid game. We're about mid game.
Mid game, sure.
Right,
sure.
But we've put more time that you put in like your standard RPG at this point.
It's true. I've spent less time on certain Final Fantasy games than I have already spent on Monster Hunter. And man, it's exciting. It's exciting to say like, hey, we're only rank 13. Like it's kind of like everything finally opens up at rank 50. And then you can max out your hunter rank at rank 100.
I don't even know if it maxes, but there's a trophy for getting to rank 100.
That's true. We don't even know if it maxes out. So, like, just the scope of this game is suddenly so much larger and so much more like in depth than I had any idea.
Yeah, it is. I started off as a heavy bow gunner, and at some point I was just like, I like this, but I'm missing something. I'll give the dual blades a try, and I've just been, okay, but I'm not done.
Completely different playstyle. Obviously, going from a ranged weapon down to a melee weapon that's very fast.
Yeah, whirling dervish of blades, and all the footage we capped, I believe, is from when I'm using the dual blades. And
okay, so yeah, you'll see a lot of dual blade play.
Compared to my last footage, which is me just sidestepping and shooting,
probably mostly
bullets
gunning,
downrange. Yeah.
And I've pretty much just stayed with my insect glaive.
But you have started kind of
playing around with some other things because like there are definitely fights where I'm like, ooh, insect glaive is not great for this fight. I would probably be better off learning another weapon just so I can mix it up. And
I have these extra materials. I can actually forge up my bow gun back up to kind of relatively
you can keep
equivalent.
Things caught up almost.
Yeah. Because you do
at
so
least
many
with a couple different weapons. If you start trying to do that on too many weapons, suddenly you're just like out of materials.
But here's the thing: is this game I have enjoyed just playing the game. I have said, you know what? I'm actually going to take a break on progression and just kind of get better, and just instead of trying to force my way through the story, I'm just going to kind of take time and run all these side quests and just kind of like you do in an RPG or things like that.
Oh, definitely.
But I've just kind of I'm going to spend some time with this, and man, I don't feel like I'm losing time. Like some games you feel like, I need to get back to the main story, and side quests are just filler because I need an object or I need this thing, and then we're back into it.
I never feel like I'm wasting time in this game.
Not at all.
It's all very rewarding, even if it's like not something you're actively working on.
Because the gameplay loop is so solid.
The loop is very solid, and just each of the fights, even if it's a monster you fought, 15 times already, it can change based on where it runs to after you've done enough damage to it, because they can run. They kind of usually have a somewhat normal path.
Yeah,
but they can go a couple of different ways, and each time it changes, or if you're able to stop them midway,
or what parts you've broken.
Yeah, things that you've broken off of the monster, if you've cut off the tail or their horns,
or the other monsters in the map that are interacting with it.
That too. And as it's getting harder, that's the other thing. Okay, so the difficulty on this, the ramp has just been insane.
So we completed the first part of
the first major arc of the story, basically.
Which is what you find out when it's after you've unlocked high rank that you've been doing low rank stuff.
Yeah. Suddenly it's like, oh, guess what? There's high rank hunts that you can do,
and now
harder monsters.
The gear sets that you've been farming, you need other parts to make a high rank version of it.
You can make better versions of everything.
So some things will have like a 3-piece set bonus. Now there's a 2 and a 4.
And that
instead of a 3, I should say,
adds a huge dynamic to what you're able to do.
Right, the monsters hit harder, have more health, and they are just stronger.
They're more aggressive,
might have more moves,
faster. Sometimes they have additional mechanics. It's really incredible how much they have put into this.
Right, and you definitely get a feel for. I don't know if I want to say personality for the monsters, but yeah, kind of like a.
Oh no, definitely, I'd say that fits. Like they definitely go out of their way to try and make sure you know that.
Right. I mean, I still Odogaron is still one of my favorite monsters because he's like
insanely fast.
And when I fought him with the dual blades, it is basically a mirror fight because we're both zipping around, bouncing around, kind of landing glancing blows on each other, except for on high rank he hits way harder than I do. But it's just this very fluid
game flows really well. Especially if you're into that Dark Souls style combat. That's like it is a wet dream for the Dark Souls crowd. If you're into it, this is great. It's just Dark Souls boss after Dark Souls boss, and you can keep farming them. It's not just like a one-time thing that you have to get past. You just keep doing it,
and you get better and better and
you get better at it. You get better rewards from it, and once you've done that, they make it harder.
Right.
They up the ante.
We've done some reading on things. What you have is you get into a point where you're fighting what are called tempered monsters. Now, we're not sure exactly how that rolls out, but essentially their health pool when you hit high rank is now as big as it gets. Their health doesn't increase anymore beyond that, except for scaling with multiplayer. But their damage and aggressiveness does change.
Which I find fascinating. And it'll be super interesting to see what that actually translates to as we get higher.
Right. And so when we're talking about Dark Souls style combat, it demands, no, this is just one move that, this is an Elder Dragon. If this power move hits you, you're just dead.
You're gonna die.
It doesn't matter what you have defensively, you cannot get hit by this.
And interestingly, on top of that is you need to build your gear and set it up to fight individual dragons,
right?
Because sometimes they have a roar that will stagger you, and if they stagger you, you're gonna die,
right?
So you need to be able to be either like reduce the time that you're staggered, or
be far away,
or immune to the stagger, and not get hit, not be anywhere near some of these moves that happen. I mean, you and I jumped in and we were fighting one of the big elder dragons, Nergigante,
right?
And I realized, oh man, I am not really set up for this guy at all. Like,
we're probably going to take 5 hours.
At least
retool our gear,
retool your gear, figure out like what we need to build for,
right?
And how we're going to get around fighting that guy.
Yeah, it's not totally not uncommon to say like, well, when we need to farm Tobi Kadachi, so we can get his gear, so we can then take his gear, equip that, and go fight this Elder Dragon Kirin, which is a lightning unicorn, which you're like, oh, that can't be bad. No, he fights...
It's real bad.
He's like firing lightning lasers and all kinds of... It's an amazing fight.
But man, is it satisfying to like go in, try it, fail so hard that you're like, oh man, I'm totally doing this wrong.
Right.
And then coming back after... getting the gear you need.
And it's not like the gear makes you invulnerable. It just has enough lightning resist on it that you're not immediately destroyed.
One shot, or 2 shot.
Right. You're
in
like,
a lot of cases.
Well, I'll recover faster from his shock when I do this, and that'll help.
And that's enough to like, okay, now this is manageable. I can actually like get through this. Like, at no point is this game really easy. in today's standards.
Right. Yeah,
it is a difficult. It's challenging.
It demands something from you.
It does.
You must have this much skill to beat this game.
It is not that relaxing. I mean, some of it is very relaxing. Just out in the world doing like your.
You could just go on expeditions and just go out in the world.
You can just go out in the world. You don't even need to fight monsters, and you can like farm up herbs and mine and fish
for which you need to craft,
catch pets and stuff.
Which you need for traps and ammo and
So
use what do you call it? Consumables.
Yeah, lots of consumable stuff. The food is still a big portion.
Oh, and the food cutscenes are
gorgeous.
Remain amazing.
Yeah, and as we unlock more recipes and higher level kitchens and stuff, the animations change. It's really good
and get more over the top.
It's really good, and the characters are all still. It's super interesting. It's fun to interact with everybody.
Right. It's just oozing charm.
Yeah, very charming.
Whimsy,
the whimsy that we talked about last time is still in full effect.
Yeah.
It's just like everything is so much more intense on these higher rank things.
But I was furious.
You need the whimsy to offset some of these really intense, stressful fights.
Right. Well, there's he's not even an Elder Dragon. He's just a jerk. Who will just show up and
who?
What's that?
Oh, Basil.
Basil Geis.
Yeah.
Geese Geis, whatever it is. But he'll just die.
Basil juice.
Yeah.
I don't remember how to say it. It's spelled like the
planet?
the star.
The
star.
But it's Japanese, so I'm just going to say Basil.
Yeah, well,
it's also spelled the same as tall geese from Gundam.
Okay.
So,
and did they say geese in the?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Interesting. I actually might have that wrong. I'm willing to bet I actually have that wrong.
We'll look it up. We'll learn how to speak other languages at some point.
No promises.
I'm kidding.
But
we're not going to learn to speak another language.
Anyway,
we'll learn how to pronounce that because
people were.
I feel like I need to.
People were memeing on it, like basically comparing it with pictures of B-29 bombers.
Okay.
Because he just dive bombs you, and
he carpet bombs and then like blows everything up.
Yeah, which is he drops his own scales.
He develops these explosive scales that he drops off of his body on top of other monsters. He likes to hit you generally.
And he'll follow you around.
Yeah, he'll follow you around.
So you're fighting, you're like...
He's just a troll dragon is what he is. He just shows up, he messes up your day, and then
tips his hat. Be shame if something were to happen to this monster.
He tries real hard to kill you. If you can get out of the area, sometimes he'll leave, but he'll find you again if you're in there long enough.
He just flies in like nothing's wrong.
Yeah, you just you hear him roar, and you're like, man, Basil,
I usually
what are you doing here?
I usually see things falling down and go, wait, oh no!
Or you'll see his silhouette fly by, and you're like, oh no, and then everything just starts to blow up, and it's great.
So I got angry. I'm like, that's it. I'm going and I'm hunting him. I am I have the ability to hunt him. So I'm going to go get my revenge. And I can't tell you how angry I got.
How sweet it is, though.
But
when that dude goes down.
I actually died on my first attempt. Solo. I solo, and he's just like, okay, I need to understand these things. And you kind of have to learn how to leave him alone because he'll just start dropping explosives off of himself. Just like, no, come on, hit me.
Yeah, come at me, bro.
I'm just sitting there going, you're lucky I don't have my bow. You're lucky I don't have my bow gun because that fight would be trivial.
Make that fight easy.
Trivial.
Yeah, it's true.
But anyway, I didn't. I dual bladed him finally, but man, I actually captured him. So I went back up to the platform after I caught him, and it was just. Again, it puts you in the moment. Like the stress was gone, and I'm just gloating until the next time I have to fight
it's
him.
So
and then I'll be back.
There is a special kind of relief that you get as soon as you see that that capture. Like you drop your trap,
the screen does something, and you're like, did I die?
It's like, oh no, did I die? Did I capture? And it's like, and then you see him pass out in the trap, and you've got maximum rewards out of that hunt.
Right, you're gonna carve him to pieces.
You're just gonna get tons of loot off of him, and you're done fighting. And
I can take a break,
and you can usually capture them a bit faster than you can fully kill them.
Right,
it stands to reason. Obviously, you just need to kind of cripple them in a certain way that will make them vulnerable to capture.
You have to wear them down.
You have to wear them down to a point, or I think if you can cripple the specific things fast enough, you can capture sooner. I don't know that. There's still a lot of stuff we don't know about how this game works.
If you thrash them enough, they'll return to their nest and go to sleep. That's when I capture them.
And then you can cap. Yeah,
I will always do it then.
If the little skull starts flashing up on the mini map, they're good to capture.
Yeah.
Sometimes before that, if you're lucky, and man. It just feels good. It's such a high intensity fight. You're on the verge of dying because it's a high rank fight.
Anywhere from, let's say, if you're real on point, it's 7 minutes. If you're not, it could be 35.
Oh yeah, I mean some of these fights like they give you 50 minutes.
Yeah, and sometimes you need it.
It has not been uncommon to, like, especially when it's a new hard monster that you've not really fought before, to take the entire time and then you still fail just because you maybe don't have the right elemental damage or the wrong amount of you just die too many times,
or there's almost a certain amount of relief when you're like, oh, I'm out of this thing for this consumable that I need. I'm gonna take a half hour, just kind of chill, and go collect
I got
plants.
Plenty of time. I can go collect plants and make the stuff that I need to finish this.
Yeah, because I need to there's an.
Well, it's like
it's rating. It's like a rating, but the intensity is so much higher,
and it's just like in your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
It does feel like you're interacting with these monsters. Like the AI is good enough that,
and the big heavyset guys don't seem to be fast in a way that you would expect, but the smaller ones are fast and nimble in a way that keeps you on your toes.
And then the monsters interacting with each other in the worlds as you're like. Just going.
There's
farther.
A food chain.
Yeah, there's definitely a very
and so like
it's a very interesting like system that they have built around this.
Well, and there's you kind of have like some items that you can use to drive monsters off. But for me, you have this moment where it's like, okay, I'm hunting an Anjanath, which somebody described as like a turkey-headed T-Rex, which I love.
Sure, turkey-headed T-Rex with some like weird
nose bone
vestigial
stuff.
Wings.
Yeah, and he's. Well, he was a son of a gun for a long time.
Yeah.
But he's not anymore.
Yeah, now that we've actually got into the high rank a little bit farther.
He's actually kind of a chump.
Right when we started, though, man. We had to like group up to get him.
And we're like, okay, guys, who wants to do? It's going to take a few things. Let's go grind gear. And now he's kind of a chump, but there's a moment where
it's still real satisfying to kill him every time.
It is. Well, and I also like when the Rathalos shows up. And I'm like, wait, I'm actually going to hang back because I know he's higher on the food chain than Anjanath. He's just going to pick him up, throw him around, then I see like a big orange number come off. I'm like, well, there's 700 damage. I don't have to do the Anjanath.
Don't mind if you do, Rathalos.
And then use that item that drives him off.
Drop like, dude off a cliff and then shoot Rathalos in the face with some dung and he takes off.
Yeah.
That's also a great mechanic. That is,
they use dung piles too.
Well, it has become more. It wasn't really necessary in the early game to mess with the slinger at all. But you have this like slinger thing on your arm.
Wrist rocket, essentially.
It's basically a wrist rocket. You shoot, you can pick up things from the environment. Things will drop
Seeds,
off monsters. And you can use those to affect the monsters in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And like you say, like flash pods that will stun them. And with dung, you can drive off.
You could actually use
monsters.
wrist-mounted knives that you can coat with poison or like paralysis stuff.
And add on some of the status effect stuff. Yeah, definitely. And they seem to be a bit more critical in the higher rank
Initially,
stuff.
you go when we're starting out. We're going, oh, that's cute. Well, that's cool that you can do that. And you're like, I don't know
why I ever would.
It doesn't fit my play style, but I like that they have the option. Some people probably like that. And then all of a sudden, you're like, oh no,
I have to use this because it's the only way to interrupt certain attack animations is by hitting guys with like a bomb pod.
Yeah.
And man, it changes the game. It's so interesting that they are able to layer in these mechanics
so organically,
very organically, and you discover it very organically as well. Like suddenly you're just like, I have to run, so my weapon is sheathed, and all I have is my slinger, and he's about to dive bomb me.
Right.
So you just like fire off a quick thing and it stuns him and you're like, oh snap, that's great, and then you just jump on him and just start beating the crap out of him.
Right.
And as that layers on, as things get harder and harder, it's so much more satisfying.
Yeah, you navigate it. It's the and like you said, it's so organic. And it's like no one can tell you when it is time to use the dung pod, but when it is time, you will know. It's weird how
Obi-Wan reaches out to you through the Force.
No, not even that. You're like, why would I? Oh, I know what this does. In that moment,
especially when you have 3 giant dragons fighting each other,
and you really
and hunting you at the same time,
and they're about to kill the one that you want to kill, but you need to get in there and carve it up, and you're going, no, that's mine. You jerks, clear off.
You guys got to get out. So you just start flinging poo. I mean, and what's not rectified by flinging poo?
Right. Well, I mean, it does. It causes a lot of problems, but it solves some too.
It solves a lot in the Monster Hunter world,
right?
Among other things. So,
I'm so uncomfortable with where this is going.
I don't know what you're talking about. Which leads us to like the best part of Monster Hunter, I think.
Well, I mean, we did touch on mixed sets a little bit. Did we really get in how?
I mean,
it is.
How much do we want to get into mixed sets?
Well, the other part of the note we have here, just that it's a game that encourages min-maxing to the point where there are gems that have other armor's set bonuses just in the gem. So you're like, well, I could, increase my ability to build up poison on a monster, or I could just have this thing that has this other cool effect entirely.
Yeah.
So it's all about building the hunter that you want to build.
And it also takes min-maxing to a level that I've never seen before.
And here's the thing is like,
if you're familiar with Diablo, imagine you rock your set bonus that you always really like.
Yeah.
But then, guess what? You find a couple gems that give you all of the other set bonuses for your class
or your playstyle.
You're
like, I've always wanted to use this ability.
You can mix you can mix and match those abilities and whatever you want.
Right.
And you get all of the best bonuses out of all of them.
Right.
And it takes it to a place that, like, I mean, obviously we know since it goes up to rank 100.
Right.
These fights are going to get ridiculous.
I think that's why when we say everything's unlocked at 50, 50 is where you have access to everything.
But I mean, with like the tempered and everything, I mean, that difficulty is just going to keep getting kind of amped up.
Yeah, it's going
to get real hard. And it's going to require that we min-max to a certain degree.
If we want to get to that. If we want to
really get.
If we want to kill everything at the highest difficulty, which we're the kind of people that do. But I don't know. It's not very often with any kind of game that I look at it and go, I don't know if I have the ability to do this. Right now, I don't know if I have the ability to get to what the game requires for me to kill the highest stuff.
Yeah.
But I look forward to trying.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get there. I love playing this multiplayer. That's the other part of this that has really changed my opinion about the whole thing. Like, I had fun in the beta playing solo and thought, like, oh, this is great. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this. Now I kind of play every bit of it multiplayer. I rarely do anything solo. Because you have the ability to send up an SOS flare if anything gets too hard, and so I'll just look for a monster that I need to farm, and you can actually set it to like, hey, I want to look at all the SOS flares for Dodogama, and I just want to find him. And you can just search. Like, he's like, hey, I want to kill this monster. Does anybody need help with it? And I'll jump in and we'll kill it, and I'll get the rewards. They do split up the rewards. You do get a little reduced rewards for not doing it solo. They split up all the rewards.
Oh, really? Okay.
People in the money.
Oh, yeah, the money does.
You still get all the same monster parts you normally would, but the money and the kind of incidental rewards are.
But that's why you always try and do investigations and there's.
You can stack stuff to make things super efficient, and they have kind of introduced things to allow you to cheese a lot of stuff, like farming up money. They have the bandit mantle that you can wear and get a bunch of like high level trade-in gear for tons of money.
Also,
it's delightful. And
I need to ask: have you gotten the Palico item? That's for farming monster parts.
For farming monster parts, I don't know. I actually have I have unlocked a lot of Palico gear, but I still am rocking whatever was stock with the Palico.
I need to look.
I have not dug into that.
No, it's instead of the Vigor Wasp spray or the Flash Cage, it's an item you get from the Rotten Veil.
Okay.
Basically, what it is, it's an item that I was watching a video on it today that. Each fight, you get between 1 and 5 items that the Palico just steals from the monster.
That's cool.
And also, when it levels up, he has a chance to just knock bits off. That just that sounds good. Like the breakable drops.
I'll have to find that.
But yeah, it's the.
I do like having that extra heal though.
But that was my problem with Basil Guy since I was trying to use something else. Needed the extra heal that the Palico gives. But if you're in a group and someone has a heal.
That's a good thing to and in a group setting that makes sense.
And also, what is it? You're like, oh no, I have got this monster down pat. Instead of farming him 8 times, I now farm him 6.
Yeah, which is nice. That is really nice.
Potentially, depending on what it is you're looking for.
Well, and I wonder if it's like is the full breadth of what a monster can drop, or if it's limited as to what the Palico can.
I would be surprised. I mean,
off.
You're probably not going to get any gems off of him. The animal gems,
but some of those higher, like harder to find.
But those parts are supposed to be rare, and that's the point.
Rate parts,
I just anytime I kill Anjanath, I get a plate off of him. I have so many Anjanath plates.
That's weird. Plates are usually hard to get. Like I have very few plates.
I have a ton. Actually, I think I got 3 Legiana plates off of 1 kill once. It's random.
RNG,
it's random drop.
RNG, man.
It's yeah.
Sometimes.
But yet I can't get my wyvern gem. I cannot
right.
get
and I feel like I'm swimming in wyvern gems. So yeah, RNG is real, folks.
And then we should probably cap it off with talking about the breadth of content with probably one of Joe's most favorite parts and something I'm fond of.
Best part of this game.
Best part of the game.
Best part.
Poogie, which is a pig analog. It's got a little like flower tail thing.
Does he have a flower tail?
It's a little.
It just may be decorated. It's a pig. It's just a little pink pig, and he runs around the tower.
And there's a timing petting mini game that if you time it wrong, he's upset with you.
He gets mad, knocks you over, runs away, and doesn't want to deal with you anymore.
But if you time it right, he starts getting affectionate to the point where whenever you finish a quest, he comes running up to you.
Yes,
and he has a little like prison outfit.
They're just pajamas. They're just striped pajamas.
But they look
very prisony, though. Yes.
But they've also there's hidden like costumes.
There are hidden costumes all around the world. So once you have got him like affectionate enough with you,
you can pick him up.
You can pick him up and you can carry him around. And he's a fat little pig.
And he just lies there. He loves it.
He does. He just cuddles and then
halves your walking speed.
Yes, it's ridiculous. But you carry him around. And the controller will vibrate as he like triggers on things, and you can put him down, and he'll just kind of root around in the ground, dig something up, and get items for you.
Yeah.
He can also get costumes for you, which I am a huge fan of.
Mine is an explorer.
The explorer.
He's got a rucksack and a blanket,
a little bedroll,
and goggles on his head.
Goggles, yeah, it's adorable. My wife loves it, and I'm still like trying to figure out how to get the other costumes. I think I found the adventurer gear as well, as it's very close to.
It's really easy to find
where you see him most of the time, and man, it's I don't know. It's just a weird. It's part of that whimsy that just makes the game so charming. And now every time I come back from a mission, this adorable little pig just comes running up, and he's way pumped to see you.
Is it the hog and the frog costume that you're looking to get?
Yes, the hog and the frog is exactly.
It's basically it's got a little frog, and the frog's mouth's open, and his head's sticking out.
The pig's head sticks out of it, and you can change the colors, and you can customize it all. Everything in this is pretty customizable. It's a really fun thing if you're into transmog and just like playing with the way your gear looks.
Well, and a fun fact about Poogie is he's been in the Geese games. Somebody was talking about it for a long time, and the developers have never said if he does anything. But a lot of people had this superstition that by petting him is how you get your drop chance up. That by petting him and making him happy before you go on a hunt, your luck is better.
I mean, that just stands to reason.
Right?
That's logic, right?
And so a lot of people just have this fondness for Poogie because they think that somehow his fate is tied to their drop chances off of monsters.
Well, I love, too, that like you had to like gain this affection with this weird little pig. Like, he's just running around and he wants nothing
and if
to
you
do
run
with
too close to him, he'll freak out and try and run away.
Yeah.
And you could stop him and, pet him. Yeah. But if you do that wrong, he's like, no, he's not having
then
it.
he just runs off.
And there is
or he'll leave altogether. Like there was one time I was carrying him up like by the canteen.
Yeah.
And he just kind of got tired of me carrying him, and he just like popped off and then ran across the bridge out into the jungle. And I'm like, what the heck, man?
Poogie,
no, Poogie, it's too dangerous. Don't go alone.
It's funny because I was carrying him around somewhere, and I'm like, I actually don't have time for this. And I set him down, and I then I was like, oh wait, no, it's right here. And I turned around, and he's gone to sleep.
He's like,
and there's little sleep bubbles popping off of him. I'm like, he's good enough.
It was very soothing being carried up here. I'm glad you took the last half hour to walk me to the top of the level.
Right, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to disturb him.
I was like, never mind.
Like he looks happy.
Let's go kill a thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go kill a monster.
And it's just the weird, dumb stuff like that, and the Meowscurlier chef, Meowscurlier chef. That's just all about those gains, cooking for you.
Yep, love that.
That's still like charming as ever.
The Palico puns, yeah. Nice to meet Mew.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot if you're not into the puns.
Somebody spent a long time on this, and God bless them.
Seriously. But yeah, game super charming. Give it a look if you haven't really checked it out that much. It's pretty fun.
Kind of objective based and kind of it's weird. It's
if
objective.
Do you like checklists?
It's like choose your own objective type games that also have plenty of stuff to do, but is also skill based, but also a little bit gear based. And
it's a weird amalgamation of everything I love about MMO gearing and Diablo gearing
that you can do by yourself at any time.
And you can do it by yourself at any time. The matchmaking's great, very fast, pretty consistent. I've only been disconnected a handful of times out of the many hours that I have played.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's great. It makes it a lot of fun. You get to see all kinds of different styles of play. like we said before, 14 different weapons,
and they all change
radically change how you play.
Right.
None of them, no two are alike.
Right.
And they're all very like different speeds. There's something for everybody. It's pretty fun.
Right. And with that, I think we're going to wrap it up because we have our, that Monster Hunter intervention that has been planned for us. We're late to our own intervention.
They've done 2 backcasts in a row about Monster Hunter.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. We've been a little bit less active on the site, but we're still churning stuff out, still finding our footing. We're going to keep going with that. We're looking at stuff. That's all I'll say. I realize we've been going long enough.
Things are fine.
Things are fine. We're going to keep going.
Yeah, we're doing good.
But catch us again next time.
Don't sound so dire. We're doing great.
I don't mean to sound dire.
This is an awesome time.
I'm actually I love what we do. But when the choice comes, right now I'm going to do like Monster Hunter record. Can we record Monster Hunter?
Can we just record Monster Hunter and play more Monster Hunter?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I mean, that is, yeah. It's the game's fresh. It's new. We're having a lot of good times with it.
Super fresh.
Super fresh.
Anyhow, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll have a Backcast again next week, and we'll have some other video content we've got recorded in the can that will be going up as well. But until that time, thanks for joining us.
Catch you guys later.
Bye.